And then the ground wind is still moving this way, so I would anticipate we'll just slide right off the end of it. Okay? Because there won't be much tension on it. And then the ground wind is still moving this way, so I would anticipate we'll just slide right off the end of it. Okay?
Watch out for false wind.
There wouldn't be much breeze today. I wouldn't worry too much about it. So we're climbing out at about 150. I would have said a little faster than that. Instruments are catching up. So one of the things to note is that one of the adventures out here, they launched here, they went up, and they had a little bit of a north track. Okay. Interestingly, so that's surprising. So I'd still like to move that 300-400 feet and go all the way up. And when you have that ascent initiated, then go ahead and call it. Okay.
Phoenix Tower, hot air balloon, November 74008.
Hot air 74008, like that.
I just tell them I'm taking off west of...
Yeah, first of 3 out of here.
I am first of 3 west of you, heading south.
Hot air 74008, roger.
And that's all I got to do?
Yep, that's good. The challenge today will be to maintain something between 300 and 400 feet a minute.
Okay.
And the goal that I have in mind is I'd like to get all the way up to about 9,000 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. First I thought it was going to be like storage, but I wonder if it's a camper.
RV parking lots or something?
Tension on that, that's good.
Sound a little different, the burner, or is it just me?
It didn't to me. Feel like it does?
I can't tell if it's my ears or... Wow, that...
Okay, so 6,700, and now we're gonna. I feel some wind changing. It's hard to know what's going on. So right now we've got 156 at 13.
Kind of towards the glen with this track.
Yeah, and it looks breezy on the lake there. The 2 adventures balloons are to our east, and I'm guessing. I don't know, but sometimes they like to take off somewhere right down in here.
Right there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I see the wind. So that tells me if they both took off there, that he was able to go up and box around, and now he's between the runways. And so if we keep climbing, we should be able to do something similar.
Oh yeah. I think they were doing some kind of construction. Oh yeah, for days didn't they make one of them land before they crossed the runway?
Yeah, they did. You're right. And I guess that was because they only had one runway to work with. So soonish, I would anticipate that we'll see a turn. I feel like we're feeling that wind shear, but we're not seeing the change yet.
Ascent gets away from you real quick.
Yeah. Because the balloon naturally wants to stabilize, right? As you're going through different levels and shears and things like that. Okay, so now we're starting to bleed some speed out.
Yeah.
But that was the motivation I had to get up fairly quickly, is I don't want to be 10 miles down the road while we're trying to figure it out.
Right.
Because if we can get a direction that will take us like that direction, like Adventures did, then we can really extend the duration of the flight. Corey's inflated there. He's the only one that moved down there, right?
Yep. And he probably moved because of what the pieball did, not, because it just went straight south.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. His concern was that the pieball went south, and he felt like it almost even turned right.
Stays pretty good now.
Me too. We're dropping down to 6 knots, but we're also turning what almost due south. I'm curious how this is going to unfold, but. So assuming that we get in a spot that I like it, which I think chances are pretty good, my intention is that we're going to continue this ascent. We're going to hopefully get this turned back to the northeast kind of thing. And like I say, I feel all this wind in our face. But one of the things that's important to note is at 400 feet a minute, you don't have time to let the balloon adjust to wind layers. So there is a capability where you can actually just blow through a wind and never know it's there. We're getting up to about 9 knots. And then we don't have to worry about this runway at all, but that runway will be a little heavier. And then my goal is that once we're in a space we like, I would like to do a terminal velocity descent. Okay. And now we've got a north track. Almost due north. That's perfect. So the intention of the terminal velocity descent, from a training perspective, it accomplishes a couple of things. It is designed to simulate that you have lost fire. And the idea of it takes you a really long time to get your burner relit, how will the balloon behave? So that you get a feel for that, so that in the midst of your burner going out and trying to light the pilot light, which is stressful enough, you're not also experiencing the behavior of the balloon for the very first time. Because in this balloon, and in a lot of balloons these days, it will be really stable up to somewhere on the order of about 700, maybe 800 feet a minute down. after that, it starts to become a little bit more adventuresome. And the behavior, what we would expect is once we cross through that 800 foot a minute boundary, then we'll probably start to spin. And I don't mean spin like, oh my God, we're going to fall out of the balloon, but we'll just, like if we held the turning bend. And that can be really disorienting because as you're dropping, you have a sense of where you are, but then the balloon's rotating and you've lost it. It's like, man, where am I? And so that spinning can be disorienting. Somewhere around about 900 feet a minute to 1,000 feet a minute, then we'll start to see the balloon kind of dish in on the throat, and the throat will start to close a little bit. In this balloon, it will never get closed.
By design, like the cabling and everything.
The mouth on this balloon is so massive that it just, I mean, if the throat closed, you have significantly larger problems. And so what's happening there is as the balloon gets cold and it gets soft, then what happens is anytime we go through a shear, it's going to kind of cave in the side of the balloon. The important part about that is to just look and watch how it behaves, but also to note when it is time to burn that you want to look up and make sure that you have a clear throat to burn into.
Right. Don't be hitting fabric with
Exactly.
fire.
Now there are times that we have seen very extreme descents where people haven't had fire and they finally get it lit and they do burn, but the throat is so closed that they do burn it. In general, getting heat into the balloon is more important than saving the fabric in that kind of an emergency situation. Especially because if you'd have to work really hard to burn through cable and load tape, especially enough to damage the integrity of the balloon. So in an emergency situation, if you feel like, man, I gotta get heat in this or I'm gonna drill the ground at 1,000 feet a minute, that's where stuff breaks. Absolutely burn through the fabric. It's heartbreaking, but again, if it's dished in one side, like you're coming through a shear or something like that, you're still gonna have 80% of the balloon that's intact. All of these balloons are so over-engineered, it's totally fine. Because my rule of thumb is if you can slow the descent down to about 600 feet a minute before you hit the ground, you'll be fine. 600 feet a minute. 600 feet a minute is bone jarring. It's like, oh man. 600 feet a minute is typically where we start to see wrists, ankles, elbows, that kind of thing, just because you're standing weird, people aren't wearing good shoes, whatever. But everybody crawls out of the basket and you say, oh man, that was a crazy ride. More than 600 feet a minute, about 800 feet a minute is where you start to see real injuries, broken arm, broken leg, that kind of stuff. At 1,000 feet a minute is where the balloon integrity starts to break down. You might break holes coming in, and you might start to have things like head injuries. Because what happens is you want to get in that sort of low squat position, but a lot of times people's legs aren't strong enough to handle 1,000 feet a minute. And so then you're going to get a lot of this kind of movement. And so then you're going to get a shoulder injury. Am I going to hit a head on the tank? So 1,000 feet a minute is really dangerous. But 600 feet a minute actually isn't that bad. And so, and it's just like, well, okay, I wouldn't want to do that every day, but. And so I think it's really valuable to just think about what are my boundaries of managing safety. And if you feel like, man, it's taken forever and a day to get to the burner, you're screaming towards the ground, and you can get some heat into it, and you can slow that thing down to 600 feet a minute.
I mean, because it'll if it's twisted here, it's going to burn through that and then put heat up in the rest of the balloon.
Right. And typically, you won't see the throat closed to the degree that it's twisted closed. You'll see it close in the sense that it's caved in closed. So you're most likely likely to burn 2 or 3 panels worth as it's caved in. And you can kind of orient your burner to it, you know, that kind of a thing. And then if you can, like I say, if you can get that descent slowed to about 600 feet a minute and you sort of burn like hell all the way to the ground, shut your fuel off and then vent, 600 feet a minute is not that bad. In that emergency situation, you hope you get lucky and you got something landable below you. And
You're not going to hit any obstructions or anything.
exactly. So the idea of the terminal velocity descent as a training exercise is to get a feel for how the balloon's going to behave so that you're not experiencing it that first time.
Right. All right, so I'm almost at my limit. 10-2.
Okay, that's awesome.
Buried pretty heavily away from that 400.
It's amazing how difficult it is to hit, especially a rate that high. When you think about a rate of, first of all, by the way, I think let's just pause here at 10,000. I think that's perfect. Let's hold fixed at 10,000. I can't quite see it very well. Yeah, because right now we would be going due north at 8 knots. I mean, this is about ideal, right?
Okay. Just keep the balloon warm.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of keep it straight level. Working real nice. I'm actually looking back at.
I think this is the highest I've been flying for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And when I was looking at the forecast, it's like, man, this is a great day to go high. And here's the launch site. You can see these 2 balloons that are standing out here. At least I see one standing up. I don't see the second. Okay, so what I'd like to do, take 5 minutes. Let's trade places. Okay. So it's my balloon. Okay. You're the passenger. I'm going to rotate a little bit so that I can look at my instruments without staring into the sun. Tell me a little bit about where we are on fuel.
I've been burning off of this one.
Okay.
You just burned off of this one.
Okay.
I've only burned off this one a couple times.
And these 2 are close.
Close.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to fly for a bit.
Okay.
With absolutely no purpose other than take a break, man. Look around.
Okay.
We're at 10,000 feet above a Class C airspace. The airport under construction, 5 balloons in the air. Just chill out, enjoy it. It's really good. This is probably my favorite time of year, with everything being so green and so bright. The mountain's got just a little bit of snow on it, you know, I think the only time prettier, frankly, is in the dead of winter, right after one of those real big snowstorms, and everything's got that clean blanket of snow and the real deep blue skies. But I just think this is such amazing. And so then from sort of a tourist perspective, this is an opportunity for you to pick up your phone, and we're going to do one of those panoramic pictures. Okay. First. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get ourselves ascending just a tad, roughly level, but ascending a little bit. I'll say mostly just not cold, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, are you ready? And then what you're going to do is you're going to shoot one direction, and I'm going to spin the balloon.
Just do video?
Yeah, no. Do your panoramic photo.
Pano?
Yep.
Okay.
And what that'll do is, it'll build a 360 degree into a single panoramic photo. And like I say, your key is just focus one direction, and I'll spin the balloon under you.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we're climbing about 100 feet a minute. I'm going to open up that turning vent. Go for it.
Yep. Way. Okay.
Go for it. And now I'm going to burn a little bit. So although the turning vent is not an effective vent, it does lose some heat. So you got to just be cautious of it. Now you got a 360-degree view.
Awesome. So that's a good little trick you can do with passengers.
It is. And so like the nice thing is I know that we're on video, and so I can hang on that turning vent and give a nice 360 view. And that's an amazing piece of the video to just slow down and say, hey man, let's look at this video. It's really cool. I enjoy that a lot. So I held that turning vent open a little bit more, but primarily because I want the balloon facing the opposite direction. Partially because that's sort of my default. I want to be viewing this area, and because I want to be able to look at my instruments without looking inside.
Okay.
So if I had a second turning vent right now, I would just pull that turning vent a little bit, just leave it. Because we have so much momentum, we're going to keep going. That's fine. Clear, and then I'm going to ask the airport question. Both balloons standing up there at the launch site. That's great. Hear him announce his launch.
Southwest 2296. Going to March.
Springs Tower, hot air 74008.
Hot air 74008, Tower.
Springs Tower, hot air 74008. Can you tell us the ground is?
I'm currently showing calm.
Copy that. Hard to plan a flight on calm winds, isn't it?
I can imagine.
Springs Tower, 74008. I'm planning to initiate a quick descent all the way to the deck. We'll see what's down there. We'll let you know what we find.
Hot air 008.
Thank you. Okay, so we've been hanging out here about 10,000 feet, and so we're about to initiate this terminal velocity descent. The way we're going to initiate it is by doing nothing. Okay.
Because you want the balloon to cool down.
Right. Because now in a sort of I'll say an onboard fire, you might vent, you might initiate, but even then it's usually not necessary. First of all, because if you're dealing with a fuel leak or an onboard fire or a medical emergency, at this altitude, the balloon will cool fast enough. Initiating with a vent is not necessary, and you're probably busy dealing with other things. And so the scenario is, let's trade places again. Okay, it's your balloon. Okay. You are the pilot. And so, as of right now, in this moment, we're 28 minutes into the flight. What I'd like to say is that we are just now starting a descent, and all of a sudden, you reach up to burn, and there's no pilot light. Okay? Something's gone wrong. Your fuel valve is broken, your pilot light's out, whatever. And now you are starting to experience the, I really wish I had fire. Okay? Now, we're not going to burn, and we're not going to burn for a really long time.
Okay.
So let's just watch our descent rate and see what's going on.
Okay. Definitely picking up.
So what I'd like you to do is pay attention to how tempted are you to burn?
Right now, not so much.
Okay.
I think because I'm so high up still.
Right, and so we're crossing about almost 650 feet a minute.
Okay.
The instruments are beeping at us. That's good. That keeps us awake. Right? Are you sleeping?
Nope, I'm not.
Right? We're not sleeping. Right. So, stress management. This is the time to just say, we got a lot of time. Okay. We got a lot of time. We are at 10,000 feet. Right. The airport's at 6,000 feet. We got 4,000 feet to work this problem. That's a lot. Okay. So notice how we're now at about 700 feet a minute. We're starting to see some rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's starting to feel a little wonky. It's like, man, it's kind of wandering around on us a little bit.
But the balloon's still pretty in shape.
Pretty solid, pretty stable, right? Yeah.
Over 800 feet a minute.
Yep, 800 feet a minute. We're not experiencing any significant shears. We're still going to the north-northeast. Aha, here's that first shear.
Okay, right there.
So we're at 830 feet. Let's watch what that shear does to the balloon. So far, not a lot, right? Not a lot. Okay. We're over the Air Force Base. We know that's a safe place to be. Now you can feel that rotation starting to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
And now's that temptation. I'd really like to slow this down a little bit, right?
Right.
Yeah. The ground's starting to feel closer.
Yeah. Feeling things in the basket and
It's creaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
spinning a little faster.
Yeah. So if you had to guess, let's imagine this emergency scenario, and you get the burner lit, and you sort of go into that burn like hell mode. How long do you think it'll take to recover a descent like this?
600 to 1,000 feet.
Okay. So then let's set ourselves a limit of 7,000 feet. We will not let the balloon fall any lower than 7,000 feet before we start running.
Okay.
Oh, did you feel that?
Yeah.
Starting to wander a little bit. The balloon's pivoting a little bit. Now, from an outside perspective, the balloon is spinning, and you're starting to see the basket spin out on the rotation.
Okay. I can't even tell that.
No, you can't. Real temptation to start to get low in the basket. Okay, now we just hit 1,000 feet a minute.
Okay.
Do you feel that drop in your stomach?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 feet a minute's really fast.
Okay.
Okay. Now notice how the balloon behaves. We're starting to see a dish over here.
Cave in a little bit.
Real soft on the sides, that kind of thing. Okay.
Okay.
When we get to 8,000 feet, I'd like you to relight your burner. Obviously, it's still lit. It's
Right.
going great. These burners are hard to get out. At 8,000 feet, I'd like you to start to recover, and recover like your life depends on it.
Okay.
We're at 8,000 feet, and go for it. Whatever you do, don't put it back into an ascent.
Into an ascent.
Right. We want to stay
Stabilize.
negative or neutral, and that's it.
Okay.
Now, notice that we started at 8,000 feet. You're at 7,500, and you're level.
500 feet. So it doesn't take
And we took pauses.
that long. Right.
Imagine if your adrenaline's really pumping, man, you'd be
No
on both
problem.
burners like no way in hell am I stopping.
I always
to burn.
feel wrong to just continuously burn like that. I feel
think
like
it's
I should
good.
stop for a second.
It allows the balloon to refill and breathe. It's much better. You get much better combustion. So that couple of seconds pause, in a stress environment, you won't have that.
It's leveled out now.
Less than 500 feet.
That was awesome.
We went from 1,000 feet a minute to 0 in what seems like no time at all, 500 feet.
And that will carry out no matter my altitude.
The balloon performs poorly at this altitude in Colorado Springs.
Okay, so it's even better down there.
If we get down to the deck, if we were flying at sea level or something like that, it's gonna stop like a dime. Okay, so watch your tank there. I ran you almost dry, specifically to make it more difficult for you.
Okay.
You can swap that whenever you're ready.
That was awesome, Dave.
It sounds super scary. Oh my God, we're gonna let this thing fall out of the sky. And it is, because it spins, it wobbles. And it's not that big a deal. And so a couple things to learn from that is in an emergency situation, especially if you've got altitude, you got time to work a problem. I mean, we can sit here and have a conversation. Imagine how long it takes you to light a burner.
Right.
Not very long. So that's the big learning. The balloon gets weird, but not unstable. You got plenty of time to solve the problem. think the big learnings, and something that after you get your certificate, you'll practice quite a bit, is how can I push the balloon closer to its performance limitations in order to drive it to where I want to be? Because, you know, you think about, oh man, I need to be down there and get that left turn. Well, vent, you got 800 feet, man. Then start screaming down, burn like hell, and you can stop it. And these balloons will perform way better than we think they will. You know, we sort of start that training with the attitude of, well, 200 feet a minute, man, that's it. It's like, no, you can push these things routinely, 800 feet a minute up or
We could have
down.
went more than 1,000 there, huh?
We're not heavy enough.
Oh yeah. And then there's also a limitation too on this balloon, right? Like,
I think the limitation's 1,200 feet a minute. We're really physics limited. I mean, you're going to get so much drag on the envelope that you can't go any faster. If we had 3 passengers today, we probably would have gotten up to about 1,100. When Aaron and I tested this balloon, we had a passenger in this, we were able to get to 1,100 feet.
and it's still about 500-600 feet to recover.
Yeah, I think that's 600. Okay, so now we're over the Air Force Base. Been over here for a while. We're approaching the tower. So we're right between the parallels. Okay. Now we think about parallels being a safe space here. We can put planes on either side, but we can neglect this airport or this runway today.
Right.
They've already used both of these other 2 runways today. So currently, I would say we're in a position that someone could launch under us, which he is right now. You see him lining up. So that means that we should maintain altitude so that we don't screw his approach up,
Right.
or his departure. I think this is cool.
District, wing left track. Vehicle traffic.
So the biggest concern we have here is we got to stay clear of this runway, because with that the only big runway the airport has to use, if we start to infringe on that, that would get irritating.
Right. But we're good right here. Right?
Yeah, and we're currently going 170. We're almost going to track right over the terminal and right down the center. So from my perspective, I think you're right to just cruise right down the airport.
And get away from the, get out of their way, and then figure out my next move.
Yep. Because if we feel like we're getting enough left that we're impinging on that runway, we should probably get up higher to get out of their way. But they only need about 500 feet away from us, and even that's conservative. But
I'm really glad we did that.
first time to 10,000.
I was 11 one time with Patrick.
Oh,
but
nice.
As a passenger.
Yeah.
But first time as a pilot that high.
Yeah, and it's always funny because people think that terminal is going to be some big scary event.
I was expecting it. I was, expecting to be having to hang on.
Right. And it can be more adventuresome than that if you hit a big shear in the middle. You're going down through it fast enough that you do get quite a bit of tip. But in a round balloon like this, you'll blow through those shears. And so when you start to hear people making descents, you'll hear conversation around competition, around, oh, I did an 800 foot a minute descent. Okay, that's extreme. That's a lot, and you need to be paying attention. But it's not anywhere near the performance limitation of the balloon.
Right. Especially probably in a racer too.
Exactly. A racer will go up and down 1,600 feet a minute. It might be extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah. Imagine so.
Because inherently racers are less stable, right? They're streamlined, they're designed to go up down fast, but they do tend to pivot a lot more. And I don't like those kinds of speeds. You go into a shear and that's uncomfortable to me. But the balloon stays stable, the throat stays open, and so. And what's interesting is in the competition realm, there's this sense if you're real high and you want to be low and you go fast, that I should let the balloon cool down. You don't actually. You want, in a competition, you want to start a quick descent and then be puffing the balloon all the way down.
Keep it warm.
Keep it firm, because the firm shape has less friction.
Okay.
And it just, but it'll fall faster if you keep it warm.
Okay.
It's real science. And man, guys that have it, they are dialed in, and it's so fun to watch. But I also do find a lot of the competitors are using high-sided baskets, especially because then they know they're in. I really like the high-sided basket.
Me too. Who cares?
But
I like the seatbelt too.
me too.
Fast track 28, left close traffic. Left close traffic, after 28.
And there's Steven. I don't see Joe. Not at the launch site. It's maybe just see him? There he is, right over the baseball field.
Right next intersection, contact road. Turn right.
So.
Fast track 28, turn left.
I'm anticipating a left turn. Not much though, is it?
Much.